Hello, this is the Kiwi Sports Studio, and today we will be reviewing all this week's rugby games that have been on, including yesterday's and today's matches, and it has been very competitive, as you'll see later on. But anyway, to get on with it, we have Scotland and Italy, who are two very competitive sides in this match, and will be very competitive coming into the World Cup. I think they're two sides that are teams that are not top tier, but are definitely on the verge of being onto the top. Although Scotland are pretty much going to top tier now. They are in the top 5 in the world rankings, but Italy are quite a lot lower. Although the match statistics didn't show that, this match didn't show that, as it was a 25-13 win for Scotland, but Italy really held their own and really stuck with Scotland in the match. Pretty much Scotland weren't as dominant as they have been as last Six Nations. They were. I think they're not as good as I thought they'd be, and Italy really stomped on that and took it as an advantage and really played quite well. It was even position throughout the match, but it was more of a Scottish type of lead, as they scored quite a few tries and converted well. Scotland's scrums were a lot better than Italy though, which meant that Italy didn't really have as many chances when they were up in their attacking quarters. Darcy Graham, 2 tries in the match, really brought the game alive for Scotland. If they hadn't had him, I think they would have been struggling to even win this match, as he really pulled together the team, and he's quite a good finisher, Darcy, and I won't be surprised if he does it a lot more coming to the World Cup. Be a very close one. Healy, he was a good kicker during the match, but altogether it was not the highest of scoring matches, but it was higher scoring than a lot of the others, and it was quite alive. Like their defence, it was quite tough defence and a real attacking sort of gameplay from both the teams. It was interesting to see how they would come out in the summer series, as these two teams are big teams coming to the World Cup. Well, next we have South Africa versus Argentina. 22-21 win to South Africa. It was a very dominant first half for South Africa, but they didn't end up scoring that many tries. It was just that I think Argentina sort of pulled it back in the second half, and they really held the ball and made South Africa defend quite a lot, as South Africa had to make 170 tackles compared to Argentina's 93, which is a massive difference in rugby. And then the possessions, it was actually higher for Argentina, as 59% for Argentina, bringing a real high positive sort of gameplay in the second half that brought alive and gave them a chance. It wasn't as close a game as it looks like, as there was a converted try in the last play for Argentina, but it was still what they'd like to see, and it was a brilliant finish from Argentina, and they put a lot of pressure on the South Africans. Santiago Carreras, he was kicked quite well for not having Buffelli in the team. He's been left out, and it's the first time in a long time he's been left out by Argentina. It's a massive move, but I don't think he's been playing that well, so it's a bold but maybe a rewarding move. Not for Buffelli, obviously. And then there's Diolende. His yellow card was a deliberate knockdown, and I don't think it was, because I don't think it was deliberate. I think it was an accident. And I get why he gave it a penalty, but I don't get why he gave him a yellow card, because when there are yellow cards like that, I think he looked as though he was trying to tackle and it accidentally hit his arm, but who knows about it. It was he was yellow carded in the end and unlucky to get away with it. But anyway, it was a brilliant win for South Africa. A very close game, and it really brought to light this rugby championship. It was interesting to see that South Africa weren't as dominating as we thought they were going to be. And then there was Japan-Tonga a bit. They were it was quite close game, as Japan and Tonga, they're quite different but similar sides. They're ranked quite similarly, but their style is a lot different. Tonga, a much more physical team, showed that out in the field, and but Japan, they had great passes out wide, which ripped open the defence of Tonga. Tonga do have some big names in their squad. I think they just didn't play as well as they could have. I don't think. 21-16 win for Japan. So it was a very close one. Tonga did dominate. They had 128 carries to Japan's 73, and 65% possession to 35%, meaning Japan had to defend for most of the match, really, which put a lot of pressure on their attack and gave a lot of tired bodies, as Tonga are a much more physical team than Japan. 154 tackles for Japan compared to only 62 for Tonga. Those two teams, I think, they'll be very tough. They could be upset teams coming into the World Cup, and especially Tonga, who are in the very tough pool. I don't think they'll be thinking they're going to get through, but I think they'll be hoping they can upset one of the big teams of Ireland, Scotland, or South Africa, and should be able to beat Romania. And then there's Japan, who are in the same pool as Argentina and England, who are two teams that aren't as good as they have been. I mean, Argentina are actually quite good at the moment, but I think Argentina and England are similar at the moment. Anyway, to the Aussie versus New Zealand match, the biggest difference by a long shot for this week's match is 38-7 win to New Zealand. It was a dominating win. I think Aussie, they had a real good start. The first 33 minutes, they didn't let New Zealand through for any big tries, but other than the Scott Barrett smash, which gave on McDermott, where Shannon Frizzell scooped the ball up and scored. But other than that, it was until the 33rd minute that the floodgates opened, and New Zealand just scored two tries from there, which ripped open Aussie. But they came out in the second half quite well, and they made New Zealand defend for 20 minutes straight. But the problem with them, with those 20 minutes, is they actually didn't score at once in the whole time. So New Zealand's defence looks like it's going to be at its rightful standard going into the World Cup, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. The props for Aussie, the injuries all through there. Tupou injury, which is not good, just coming back from injury, and a yellow card, which is unlucky, but I guess it was high. And then Alatoa, the captain, injured, which was pretty big too. Korobedi's yellow card, I think, was deserved. There were too many penalties around there. He was offside. But then there's New Zealand's their entries into the 22 was 15, and Aussie barely even had any. So New Zealand really dominated the finishing parts of the match. I think Aussie dominated the possession. Not really. It was even possession, but still Aussie really took it to New Zealanders. But New Zealand scored quite a lot, with Will Jordan setting up a lot of tries, including one he scored. And Scott Barrett was a workhorse. He was brilliant. Aussie were put under pressure with 248 tackles, with New Zealand's only 183, which is still a lot. It's a very physical game, but altogether it was a real blowout to New Zealand with what the scoreline wasn't what the match was. But I think that just shows how big New Zealand are coming into the World Cup. And Australia are really going to have to work on that, coming in with Fiji and Wales in their pool, who can beat and bruise them. But anyway, this week, so we saw very close games other than New Zealand-Australia, and it really showed how close World Rugby is at the moment, and I'm very excited to see what the World Cup's like, how it's going to end up in the World Cup as these close teams are going to face each other. Thank you from the Kiwi Sports Studio. Thank you for watching our video. Please like and subscribe.